And welcome everybody to the second summit session of SEL Day 2025. This session is Unlocking Potential, Collaborative Strategies for Future-Ready Skills in Education. We are so excited to have you joining us today. And we'll take a look at a few slides just to kind of give some thank yous as we're getting started here for our second session of a full day of programming. So SEL Day 2025, right now, there are over 3,000 people from around the world, all across the United States, who are joining SEL Day, who are part of this global movement to celebrate social emotional learning. Let's find out who's watching this, who's with us right now as part of this presentation. So go ahead and in the comments of wherever you're watching this, go ahead and just type in your location. Let us know where in the world you are right now. SEL Day 2025, we're celebrating skills for success and helping young people and adults be ready for the future. Okay, we've got Mississippi here. We've got New Jersey here. Let's see who else who we've got going here. I know we have lots of people from really across the country and around the world joining these sessions. New Mexico is here. Massachusetts is here. A couple of people from Pennsylvania. That Taiwan is here. Okay, excellent. And just go ahead and keep typing in as we're saying thank you to all the folks who helped put SEL Day together. That the organizers, so I'm Jim Vetter. I'm the executive director of the Social Emotional Learning Alliance for the United States. We have developed this event with the Urban Assembly and with our international partner, 6 Seconds, and close cooperation with the Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning and Committee for Children. And we'd like to give a big thank you as well to our sponsors who've made SEL Day possible. Again, this is a full day of programming for SEL Day. You can be with us all the way through. This is the second hour of a 9-hour day of live professional development around social emotional learning. We thank our sponsors. And if you go to the summit page, you can see the expo pages for our supporter level sponsors, which are Lions Quest, Sewer Edge, and Antioch University. And all 3 of those sponsors have been sponsors with us in years past as well, which is fantastic. Joining us new this year is Wayfinder and Attachment Matters, along with, again, returning sponsors, Ruler from the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, and the Responsive Classroom and Fly 5. So and lots of other people. We'd like to thank the whole committee that has put this summit together. And of course, thank you for being here and making SEL Day possible. And we'll be sending out a brief survey. You'll get that survey probably tomorrow. Please do take just a moment to fill out that survey and let us know. That can make a big difference in our ability to work with you to promote the personal and interpersonal skills that young people and adults need and that employers want. So it is my pleasure right now to introduce this next session, Unlocking Potential, Collaborative Strategies for Future-Ready Skills in Education. And I would like to turn this over to Beth Rice.
Hello, it is an honor to be with you in this moment, and I am a specialist for state projects at SERVE, and I'm also a co-founder of SEL for North Carolina, and I'm really grateful today to also have one of my dear friends, Ann Nixon, with us.
Good morning. I'm Ann Nixon. I work with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. I am a statewide MTSS consultant, and it is quite an honor to be here with you this morning. We're excited to share some of the great work we're doing in North Carolina.
So you are going to get to hear in this session the collaborative efforts between the state level teams, the district and school communities, as well as grassroots alliances that are all helping to drive this transformative work forward. We're going to share some valuable insights, some key learnings, as well as a number of different resources, highlighting effective strategies for fostering these essential skills in our education system. We also do have a resource that we're going to go ahead and share on this slide. And we believe that you should be able to get that QR code. And we also have a bit.ly there. All of the resources that we're going to share are available here. And of course, Ann and I both are available for any follow-up after our session. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Ann to engage us with our first activity.
Awesome. All right. So using the chat, how many of you are familiar with Castle's SEL3 signature practices? See some greetings, maybe yes. There's a yes. Barbara's familiar with them. And if not, well, there's a few. All right, folks are coming in. If you're not familiar, the 3 signature practices help ground us both as adults and humans. They foster connection and a sense of community. And when implemented effectively, they can provide a foundation for safety, consistency, and even joy in training sessions and meetings for adults, as well as in classroom for students. So we got a few folks, this will be your first time experiencing the 3 signature practices. So those practices include, and these are just good educational practices that our teachers have been doing for years, but they include an inclusive welcome, and throughout the training or class, engaging pedagogy or practices, and then closing with an intentional close. And today we are going to start with an inclusive welcome, and we're going to engage you in a community activity. So we know, research shows us that practicing gratitude just 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week for over 6 weeks can enhance our overall mental wellness and promote a lasting change in our perspective. So gratitude and its mental health benefits can also positively affect our physical health. As with any kind of practice, you're always going to get your biggest bang for your buck when you do it on a regular basis. So making gratitude part of your regular daily practice can actually reduce depression, lessen anxiety, support our heart health, relieve stress, and improve our sleep, something that we probably all can benefit from. So we're going to start off today for our inclusive welcome, and we're going to use the chat. And I want you just to take a moment and think about one thing you're grateful for today. It could be in your personal life, your professional life. Once you've thought of that one thing you're grateful for, if you're comfortable, we're going to invite you to share that in the chat. Oh, they're coming in. Grateful for being with, whoops, they're coming in really quickly, Beth. Can you? I see some family.
I've got you. Yes, so family, health, my husband, all the advocates that are joining us right now across the U.S. Grateful for family, my daughter, who is my rock, inspiring colleagues, and especially today, absolutely forward thinking, life and health, family and friends, life, health, strength. Grateful for those SEL colleagues from across the world. Absolutely. Feeling so united and empowered today together. Grateful for my children, my grandchildren. Grateful for my family and friends. We have more family and friends. That is one thing about people in this space. We love people and we value our relationships. Yes. My cat, my family, easy breathing and sunshine. And certainly our pets are a part of our family. Grateful to be able to be a part of this sharing and be able to learn more about social emotional learning. Charlotte shares that Charlotte is grateful for my job. Also so important. So you're welcome to keep those gratitudes coming. It's certainly a part of our strength. And Anne will go ahead and go to the next slide.
Absolutely. That's a great way to bring everybody to the table, make some connections, see those similarities. Easy way to connect with folks in a setting like this or in a classroom. So today, we're going to share with you with some work that we've been doing in North Carolina. We're going to start off and just kind of level set and get some language, make sure we have common language. We're going to look at North Carolina's durable skills, which are part of our Portrait of a Graduate, as well as our social emotional learning competencies. And we're going to talk about how we've been able to, as a state, make connections between those two areas. Then we're going to share kind of our collaborative efforts, what we do at the state level, district level, grassroots level to help students and adults. And finally, we'll share some practical and key insights, some things that we've learned along the way, as well as resources for effectively integrating social and emotional competencies into educational practices. So we're going to start off thinking about the state work. And as I mentioned, we're going to do a little level setting and do a little common language. In North Carolina, we have in the fall of 2022, we released a Portrait of a Graduate, and it was a grassroots initiative. We used folks all across the state, over 1,200 North Carolinians, and these were people from education, families, employers, higher ed institutes, came together and had these organized design teams. And these design teams over 3 months came up with 7 key competencies or durable skills for our final Portrait of a Graduate. And these skills include adaptability. And when we talk about adaptability, we want our students to be able to accept feedback, praise, setbacks, criticism. We want them to demonstrate flexibility when navigating any challenging situations. Collaboration is another of these skills in North Carolina Public Schools that we focus on. And this includes the ability to contribute and respond to diverse perspectives to achieve a common goal. May include interact respectfully with others in digital and in-person interactions. Of course, communication is also a very important durable skill. We want our students to be able to articulate thoughts and ideas effectively using oral, written, or even nonverbal communication skills. We want them to be able to craft communication for a range of purposes and audiences. We also want our students to be critical thinkers. And by this, we mean, are the students able to analyze, assess, and reconstruct personal thought processes? Can they evaluate and prioritize solutions to difficult or complex problems? North Carolinians across the state also decided that having a learner's mindset is a critical skill for our graduates. And by this, we mean students are able to embrace curiosity, to experience new ideas, demonstrate growth, and persist through challenges. They're also able to develop positive attitudes and beliefs about learning. And one of those skills, and one of those durable skills, is also empathy. Our folks across the state, our employers, our educators believe that it is important for our graduates to be able to empathize, that they can demonstrate understanding, sensitivity, concern, and respect, that they can share in others' feelings, their opinions, and experience through personal and digital connections. And finally, they can value and embrace diverse cultures and unique perspectives. And the last durable skill identified is that personal responsibility. And we want to ensure our students earn trust and respect through honest, principled behaviors, that they honor their commitments, and they can take ownership of decisions and persevere through any challenges. So that's kind of the big picture of our portrait of a graduate and these 7 durable skills. And these came out, as I mentioned, in fall of 2022. So prior to that, we were already doing some work around social emotional learning. And we had adopted a state definition of social emotional learning. And what I'm going to let you do for just a moment, I'm going to let you read this definition. Once you've finished reading our definition, if there are any words or statements that stand out, we're going to get you to drop those in the chat. Again, any words or statements that stand out or that you believe are really important right now?
So you're definitely seeing some connections with the word lifespan. So this is not something that is just at the beginning of life, but this is throughout our lives. The word evolves is also resonating with people. So I know as we have been doing this work, we notice in different situations, our different skills are growing at different times. So also the honoring of the word process. So we are not a finished product. We are continuing again to evolve across the lifespan. So this work is relevant not just for students and adolescents, but throughout adulthood. The adult and student, the strengths based, I think that is one of the things that is so essential about this work. So often we're not focused on strengths, and this work really centers us in strengths. You're also seeing still adult and student, strengths based again. Thank you, Deborah. Self-management. So we have conversations a lot around how we're all continuing to work on our own self-management. So yes, that is around emotions. It can also be around some of those, sometimes New Year things that we're working on or throughout the year, always trying to improve, always trying to grow. Strengths-based is continuing to resonate with people. That idea of healthy development. So we really want to help people to be on a path that is just really, it's good for them overall and for their development as a human. And keep those coming in. Certainly responsible decision making. I will also share that one. We know that's really big right now too, as we think about social media and what is responsible behavior around social media as we move forward. And Anne, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Beth. So North Carolina acknowledges and has adopted the CASEL SEL competencies of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Quickly, self-awareness is about understanding our emotions and thoughts and how they influence our actions. Self-management is just the ability to manage those emotions, thoughts, and actions in different situations. Social awareness is understanding different perspectives and empathizing with others. Relationship skills are our ability to build and maintain those connections with others. And finally, responsible decision-making is how we make caring and constructive choices for ourselves and others. So this is our language. We've, again, adopted part of CASEL's language in that. We have our own definition, and we've got the portrait of a graduate. So we were doing our social emotional learning work. Social emotional learning work has been in education forever. In 2019 is really when we began as a state to be a little more intentional in that. So after the portrait of a graduate work came out, we wanted to make sure that our educators understood that this is not different. These two ideas are very, very closely linked. So our state team developed a crosswalk that basically just shows those 7 durable skills. and the SEL competencies that we need or that are connected with those skills. And you'll get a copy of this, a link to this at the end. It's in the participant notes. We also have some I can statements that help teachers and adults kind of see the connections between those. But that is available for our folks in North Carolina. So now that we've got a little bit of our language, I think we can kind of see the language in North Carolina. We're going to talk a little bit about our teaming structures. So in North Carolina, when we think about implementation, we really like to think through the lens of cascading teaming structures. And you'll see state teams, regional teams, district teams, and then our school teams and personnel. And school personnel, we encourage and hope that we are families and community partners should be a part of all of these teams in helping to make sure that we've got voice as well as student voice on these teams. You'll notice that the arrows connecting these teams are back and forth, and this is because we're super intentional about having a two-way communication. It's not a top-down. It is we are learning together and developing and resources that are a need in the field, district, or region. So after understanding kind of our teaming structure, I'm going to talk a little bit about the state team and the work that we've done around social emotional learning. And you will see that in our state team, we began this work in 2019. We joined a multi-state collaborative and formed a cross-agency, cross-division implementation team. So it wasn't just one group of folks doing this. We had folks all the way across the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, as well as folks outside of the agency, institutes of higher ed, parent representative. We've got DHHS representatives. We've got some nonprofit representatives on there. But we pulled this team together and we used a statewide planning rubric, created this statewide implementation plan from that. One of the first kind of jobs or tasks that we did from that was complete a state resource map to see what do we already have in place around social emotional learning and our mental health resources. And then we developed several key resources and projects. And you'll notice 2019 to 2022, in the middle of that, COVID kicked in there. So we were actually able to get a lot of work done during this time, because when schools closed down, this is what the educators were asking, and parents. This is what they needed help with social emotional learning and the overall mental wellness of everyone, not just students, teachers, the adults, the parents. So at this state level team, we were able to do quite a bit of work. In 2022, we came back together with our statewide planning rubric and kind of reassessed. And as schools were reopening, our state level capacity of this work shifted, because folks we're getting a good grasp of social emotional learning and wellness work. Now it was like, we really need to focus on our academics. We got to do some catch-up work. So we continued the work, but it did slow down a little bit. And we tweaked our statewide implementation plan to show that. We continued to update those resources and projects. We had a strong emphasis on communication tools during this time. At this time, we began to get some political pushback around social emotional learning, simply due to misinformation and people not really understanding. So we did develop communication tools to help folks to communicate. The work that we were doing was about helping our students and continuing to be concerned with their overall wellness. We reassessed again using that same rubric in 2024, and we're currently working on some key resources and projects that we'll show you on this next slide. All of the work that we've done in all of these plans has been built around 4 areas of implementation, and those include really building that foundational support and plan, looking at adult competencies and capacities, promoting SEL for students, and then finally using data for continuous improvement. And you'll see those 4 areas and our key priorities that we're currently working on. We're continuing to work on the communication. That one's really big. I think another one that's really big, these are all prioritized, but that continuous improvement, finding the data that we're using for that, we're continuing to work on that. It's always the adult social emotional learning piece that we're working on, and then for our students. And one of the big pieces that for the students, we're really focusing on bringing in more youth voice in this work as we can move forward. So I've shared a lot of information. We've tried to break it up a little bit, but I want you to think about, so what common language most resonates with you, and what support and or resources does your state provide? And again, we're going to use the chat. And for those who aren't familiar with the 3 signature practices, this is our engaging pedagogy and strategies. Responsibility. Yes.
So we're definitely making connections with character education and the Schools of Character program.
Awesome.
The piece around responsibility again is coming up. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
So all of the resources are available in the participant notes that were shared at the beginning. And we do have a bit.ly there also. And then all the slides are also going to be posted. And I know Jim and his team will be talking some more around that. Fantastic.
Awesome.
So it's great when you're in a place and they're providing the resources. So being able to connect with that. And Ann and I always talk about this concept that the wisdom is in the room. And I think so often we come into spaces and we think, oh, well, we're there to train or present. But really, so much of this work is really about lifting up that existing wisdom and being able to share. And so Ann just shared around what that looks like at the state level, and we're getting ready to share what that's looking like at the district and school level. And then again, all of those resources you'll be able to access through the Summit page, and you can just click on the name of this session. Thank y'all. All right, well, I'm going to keep us going. And we're going to get a little bit more into what we might say nitty gritty, or closer to the implementers in this work. And really, the implementation or support for this goes across all of those layers of the system, because when we really understand what social emotional learning is, that this is really human skills. So anytime we're interacting with people, social emotional learning is present, and those skills are necessary and needed. So one of the things that we had the opportunity to do was to do 2 different cohorts in North Carolina. And it was a 16-month course of really learning and interacting and engaging with people that really wanted to do a better job of being even more intentional and lifting up and connecting existing resources that they have. Anne talked about the power of common language. And I think that's so important with this work. And we will talk about really thinking about and moving with the language that resonates with your people. So what these people came together and did is we had an online course. And again, this did start during COVID. So people had some more time that they could actually devote to some of this work. So each of the different districts, this also included charter schools, all of our public schools had the opportunity to join this opportunity. They had a team that they were working with, as well as like a lead or what we called a coach. And so that team with that coach were going through the online course. And at the end of each of the models, there was an activity for them to do, something where they were really applying what they were learning and reflecting. And in that work, one of the things that they created was an implementation plan. So really, as we're talking about this work and this strength-based focus and building these skills and empowering our teachers to do this work, we wanted to make sure that people had the resources that they need to do the work. So they created an implementation plan. And in that plan, they connected with resources that we had made available. They added how that they had adapted and made those resources most useful for their community. A part of that were different strategies that they were using. So for example, these 3 signature practices are a great example of some of the strategies. And also has a number of state resources that are a part of that participant notes. And again, people could connect with those resources like the standards mapping work, and then really adapt and go deeper for their particular school and district community. Certainly this work also is connected with the school climate, and we would help them in terms of identifying data. So things that, an example might be like the teacher working conditions data. So how does it feel to be in this space? What do I need moving forward to really be able to be effective and have self-efficacy as an educator? The other part of this was the forming of a community of practice. And so at the time of the cohort model, this was virtual opportunities that our teams and coaches participated in. But one of the things that we heard loud and clear is I want time in person with these people. So something we have been doing over the past 2 years is because we're in our 2nd year now, and that's kind of crazy, isn't it? But actually providing a district will sponsor what we call a showcase, and they have different people that come in and speak. We've gotten to hear from students on panels. We've gotten to hear from parents that work in the school. We've gotten to hear from educators, principals, superintendents, school board members, everybody about how that this work is impacting them. And the cool thing, right now I'm thinking about one of the examples of a principal that was having a not great day. And one of the students that was in like 1st or 2nd grade started singing this song to the principal. And she was like, oh yes, that's exactly what I need to be doing right now. So the great thing about this is when we're really building community around this work and the adults and the students get it, we actually can support each other in really using some of these tools that we're teaching. So with the community of practice events, the district or the charter school really determines who are the people that we want to invite, as well as the agenda for that day. So what are some of the kind of big picture insights that we have? We care about being fair. We care about being impartial. And as we're going about that work, this is for everyone. So I think that has really been a star that is guiding us in this work. Also, to really do our due diligence with supporting our students, we have to support adults first. And a lot of our people that jumped in first with students came back and said, oh, wait, the adults are the curriculum. And so we got to make sure that our adults are empowered with these different skills. And it's kind of like sometimes if I think about when I learned how to read, right, I had some very systematic steps, but once it gets more automatic, you kind of don't remember some of those systematic steps. So we have to go back and remind people about some of those basic skills when we're breaking some of these steps down for students. Also, we want students to be a part of this work. We want to engage with students. That includes listening to what students are saying, actively listening to understand as students are speaking, as well as lifting up student voice. Still, some of the most powerful opportunities that I have had access to are all around student voice and those stories that they have shared still. And that is what propels me to continue this work and be such a supporter in creating the paths for this work to continue. Certainly, and Anne talked about this when she showed that cascading system, but it's engaging and partnering with families. We are going to do the best work when we're working collaboratively with two-way communication, really listening and understanding what our families are sharing and what their needs are on a day-to-day basis. And that is also true with our communities. And then throughout all of this, we're not just dreaming up ideas about what to do. We're using data to drive us and tell us where we need to go next, where we need to focus on next. And so we think that is an essential piece. So some of the learning that we have had through these opportunities to engage with our districts and schools is, again, that this work really, it starts with adults. That the common language is really powerful and is something that we need to be intentional to develop. You are not going to go out there and do this work by yourself. One of our folks, Latrell Adams, says, say no to silos. And we think that is exactly right. It takes a team. It takes connecting with other people who also are seeing and understanding that this is a need. It also takes a plan. So you need to have a roadmap. That state example is exactly what also our districts and schools have followed. And I think that roadmap, it gives you some guide. It gives you that, helps you to keep focused on that star and where you're heading. And then, of course, as we already shared, that data drives continuous improvement. So this is including what our students are saying. This is including what our staff, what our leaders are saying, what our parents are saying, what our community partners are saying. All of that is really, really essential as we think about moving the work forward. And then if learning is happening, social elements are there, emotional elements are there. If you think about a learning opportunity that you had that still resonates with you and kind of drives you, there's probably both some social elements to that and some emotional elements to that really resonate. And so again, the underpinning of all of this is that when learning is there, that social and those emotional pieces are there. So we would love to know, before we get into the next section, what support would be most valuable to you? So if you are here today from a district, you're here today from a school, we would love to hear kind of what's most of value to you in this space and where that you, in terms of maybe moving the work forward.
And Beth, we've had a couple of comments come in. I think they were having trouble with the link to the slides, but it looks like that has been corrected. Larissa asked, what course did we use for the project? And that was a course that was designed at North Carolina Department of Public Instruction that was available to educators across the state. There's not a public link to that course, though. William has shared another. Go ahead.
If Larissa, I think you said, was interested in that, if you go to those state resources, it is on the state website, but it wouldn't be available for folks that are outside of North Carolina.
Correct. And William has added another resource that's available internationally, is the SEL Academy, offered through Rutgers and St. Elizabeth University. So that is there. Let's see, I've learned these models through my school district. How can I implement these models to other schools? And again, I think that goes through the planning of having that implementation plan for that.
Oh, and I'm loving this next one is around how do you get this work into institutions? And so right with that, I'm really thinking maybe you're talking about higher education. And if you are, send us the email. This is something that we are definitely have people that are engaged in this work right now in North Carolina. And I know we can connect you with people. Also, SEL for US, I'm getting ready to go into the grassroots work. So if you'll hold on, I'm going to get into it. There'll be some more information coming. But we actually there is a higher education community of practice through SEL for US. So we know that this is very, very important. Oh my goodness. And Suzanne's question is such a good question. So around the data tools. So Suzanne, one of the things we have really talked about is we have got to do a better job of using existing data. The other thing is we're so quick to look at student outcome data and we don't focus enough on implementation data. So what are the things that we're putting in place to change and support those student outcomes? And just imagine if in the future, like we got really focused on implementation data, that would help us so much to really change some of those student outcomes. So you're going to hear us talk around that. So examples of that are like your walkthrough data. What are some of those practices that we're hoping to see as a part of the data? And again, any of this, we encourage you to look through the resources we've already shared in the notes. And then we're also going to share our contact information at the end. Happy to engage in some further conversation.
It looks like.
Oh, yes. And I see go ahead, Ann, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, it looks like Daisy's answering maybe the question on the slide now, that how to focus on training staff, teachers, how to become an active listener to the kids, best way to use common language throughout a big team. Yeah, that's great support. And again, in building these implementation plan, you address all of those.
So you're planning that ahead of time and you already have those resources ahead of time as you're moving this work forward. So you're helping the teachers to know how to teach that specific skill. And then you're helping our students to know. And then one of the things I'll share, our kids are in Cabarrus County Schools in North Carolina, and we use Positivity Project. And one of the things that's so cool about that curriculum is that we get updates. I know every week what they're focused on as their character trait. And then I know some of the resources and tools that are available to me as a parent for free, because our school district does this work and really cares about it. And it's wonderful to have access to this as a parent. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and keep us going because we do have a couple more slides and we've got 7 minutes. So the other thing as we think about this work, the state can't do it all. The district and schools can't do it all. There has got to be a space in our states for this grassroots work. And I think that's a part of what I'm going to walk through next. So we really, and the other thing, I want to be clear, there are a lot of grassroots efforts. Right now, I'm just going to talk about 2. So one of those is the School Mental Health Initiative. And again, you have the resources to this, and we'll also show you on the NC resources slide here in just a moment. But this work is a grassroots really coalition that launched back in 2016 based off of a comprehensive assessment around what really needed to happen in terms of moving school mental health forward in North Carolina. This work includes both state level meetings and regional networks. So you have the links and resources to all that. And really, y'all, when you think about the mental health system, it doesn't exist. So part of what we're really doing is really trying to build what are those most immediate needs? How do we connect people with resources to stand in the gap when we know that some of these systems are just, they're not well coordinated and often don't have some of the resources that they need in terms of mental health. So the other grassroots effort that we have that I'm going to speak about today is SEL for North Carolina. I'm a co-founder of SEL for North Carolina. We launched back in 2024. Our mission aligns with SEL for US and all the other grassroots alliances across our nation. And that's to improve the lives of all young people and adults by empowering advocates to support social emotional learning in our state. And we use a number of different resources resources. One of those are those Leading with SEL toolkits that are phenomenal, and we have linked them in our resources, so you're going to have access to them. But because of some of the needs, you will see toolkits for school boards, you'll see toolkits for parents, you'll see toolkits for districts and schools. And hands down, we continue to just see that people are really appreciative of these resources. It'll help lay out how to have conversations. You've got access to slide decks and resources that are already built for you, and then you can go in and add to and enhance them for your particular organization. So we would love to know, before we get into the North Carolina resources, as you think about maybe grassroots support, what's available in your state, maybe what's not available in your state or in your nation, what is most valuable to you moving forward? All right, so Lori is bringing up, Lori serves multiple small faith-based schools in a very conservative area and is interested in resources to help promote SEL to administrators and parents. So Lori, I'm going to say, check out those resources from Leading with SEL. There is also a phenomenal Making the Case presentation that's available from Castle, and that's also linked in our resources. We've had a lot of people to have some real success with that. And at 2 o'clock, a shameless plug, we're going to be talking some about communicating with those audiences and some of what we've been dealing with across the U.S. in terms of some of the pushback and how that you deal with that moving forward. The big thing I want to say, and it reiterates what Daisy is saying, is we need to get the resources to parents. We need to invite them in. We have seen it over and over in North Carolina, even parents that got that misinformation and or that received that disinformation. When they come into the school and they have the opportunity to understand what we're actually talking about, they want more of it, not less. And that is also true in our areas where we are supporting more conservative families. And we are welcoming, we are caring, we are loving, and really being humble and curious. So yes, okay, and y'all are welcome to continue to drop what you need from grassroots. I know we also have a lot of grassroots leaders on here right now, so we're all listening to what your needs are. Deborah shared inviting parents. Excuse me, my little earbud popped out. Deborah shared inviting parents into meetings and trainings is important. Completely agree. Another thing we have here is like Parent University. And so really making sure that we're being intentional to get this information out to our families. They want it, they need it. It's what they're already teaching in their homes. And they want to see that it's aligned as our students are in our schools. Okay, so we're going to go. Anne's going to talk us through some of the DPI resources, and then I'll jump into the next ones.
Super quickly, because we have 2 minutes. So I've just dropped a few of our favorites from our NC DPI SEL web pages. One of those is our North Carolina Standard Course of Study and SEL alignment. We've taken 12 content areas and aligned those competencies so that teachers can see that social emotional learning is part of the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. It's not anything new. We've got some tons and tons of educator resources. I won't go through all of those. And then we have an educator wellness page. I encourage you to check that out. We've got a nice little place to get some kind of wellness or kind of a break for our adults across the state. All right, Beth, I'm going to quickly throw it to you.
All right. You have links to all the SMHI resources. You also have links to SEL for NC. I did include our February newsletter as well as the links to the Leading with SEL and Making the Case for SEL. So I'm going to go past this one in terms of resources you most need, and we'll wrap us up with our intentional close. So as we close out this time together, what is one thing that you're taking with you today? One thing that you're taking with you today.
So Larissa, the link to the slides should be on the SEL Day Summit. Yeah. All the resources. Yes.
And as this is coming in, you do have our contact information. We are happy to take an email or hop on a call to have more conversations around accessing any of this and any wisdom that we have garnered through this work. So thank you all. Keep going. We're here with you in partnership, and just really grateful for all of you taking the time, making the time to be here with us today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Em and Beth. That was just fantastic. We can see by all of the engagement in the comments right now, people just thanking you and thanking you. Amazing the work that has been happening, you all been doing in North Carolina to help engage, work with students, work with educators, with families, with the community in order to foster these social emotional learning skills that can lead to those durable skills. Really amazing, really fabulous work. Thank you so much. And this is just the second hour of a 9-hour live summit here on SEL Day 2025. So please join us for all the sessions you can. If you go onto the summit website, if you go to the SEL Day website, go to the summit area. If you click on the link for this session, you can access the slides there, but you can also see the rest of the sessions that are happening throughout the day. The next session that's going to be coming up right at the top of the hour is a really exciting one, Global SEL. Youth and educators on the skills we need. So this is going to be a panel of young people from across the world, as well as educators from across the world, talking about what SEL looks like in their parts of the world. So fantastic. Really love to have you join us. And as you've been celebrating SEL Day, wherever you are around the United States or any other part of the world, make sure that you claim your SEL Day badges. If you go to the badge page on SEL Day, just click on the login link, sign up there. You can then click to capture, to claim badges for the work that you've been doing to celebrate SEL Day. We will see you right at the top of the hour for folks who are joining us for the next part of the session. Thank you so much.